something a little bit more at the pace that we're up to.
Yeah. But still ranting about Star Trek, please.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I love how these streams have just become, let's
mean,
rant about Star Trek. It's pretty good.
Are we even a little surprised? I'm amazed that I'm this... Hello.
Kath Cartline. Yep.
I'm amazed that I am this tired at 9 p.m.
Ugh.
The sun really does take it out of you.
It's so tiring. I think I'm just going to leave all of the... Oh, I don't want to do this one. I think we can go... main menu.
What were you saying about leaving?
Just going to leave the windows upstairs open, hopefully cool out the room a little bit. Welcome to the summer. Yep.
I'm an American in England. I don't handle summers well here. I can't handle summers without air conditioning. The thing is, we get much hotter summers in New York than you do here, but we have air conditioning and pools and the ocean, so it's okay. Here I just sweat and roast and get very, very tired. I'm sorry. This is a lot of this stream is going to be me.
We're just gonna be whining, yeah.
Whining about the heat in England, or about bad Star Trek.
Currently, there is not really good Star Trek, to be honest. I wouldn't. It's funny. I can't even really say that. Lower Decks is really Star Trek. It just feels like a fan series.
Yeah.
My friend Isaac is from California, and he came to live over here, and he got used to the weather over here, and said that living over here was... Sorry.
Blown up.
Oh, we're getting some controller drift here. That's annoying.
Living over here was the first time he had gotten sunburn in years, because he was so used to California weather. Yep.
California's nice. It's lovely.
And everywhere
I miss it.
indoors is air conditioned, so you can enjoy the summer heat and just nip indoors for the faces.
Right, can we get out of here? Hayes and Arlington. I like how these two guys are just standing directly in front of each other.
Social distancing.
Yeah, where's your masks? God damn it.
They should have a social distancing mod. I done. Right. We have to...
This is not really a game. Yeah, this is just me goofing around driving trains and chat to all yous. Driving through lovely Hayes and Harlington. Oh, next stop, Slough. Oh no, is it West Drayton? The problem with that is that I agree. The problem with that is that most people, if you ask them what the best episodes are, it's always, oh, Best of Both Worlds is so cool. Oh, Wrath of Khan is so cool. Let's do those. It's like, well, what about something like, I don't know.
I'm sorry, but the voice you just went into never watched it.
I don't know people that sound like that who watch Star Trek. Yeah.
Right.
There are people from the south of England who love Star Trek. Kind of, yeah, kind of generic south. I was actually just doing a guy that was at my college who spoke like that and liked Star Trek. Oh yeah, love Best of Both Worlds, so awesome. It is really good and there's great character stuff going on in it, and I love it. I love that, but it's also, you know, I'm trying to think of a really good episode that never makes anybody's top 10 lists. I find it really funny how much Duncan basically has to kind of genuflect to Star Trek on the channel, because he knows that we're all such Star Trek nutters.
I know that when it's just the Duncan.
Yeah.
Because he inevitably still goes to Star Trek. I feel like I'm allowed to I tend to make California Bell.
That's not you.
I'm
a guide.
If we ever meet in person, maybe at the Typhoon Blues event that happens, I'm gonna mention that.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to like read out some of my old comments and be like, no, it's not the case.
I still think we should go with our avatar printed on a T-shirt, so that people know who we are. So I think Steve Allen should have a hamburger.
Yeah, it's cheeseburger.
And I'll have just a big M.
Yeah. I have an actual picture of myself.
A big green
so I
M.
don't look like you're wearing a t-shirt with a picture of myself.
That's true. It's
Can I
true.
just wear the same outfit I was wearing at the picture?
I suppose, yeah.
There we go. Question then, if you do Star Trek, do you need Star Trek, do you need the
Good question. Do you need the 3 central characters that solve every problem? It's a good question. It's been done because, you know, they clearly tried to do that with later Voyager, because they wanted the 7, Doctor and Janeway,
Yeah.
right?
I feel like,
Which is funny because only one of those characters is fully human.
Obviously, Enterprise had 3 characters, but I felt like it was a little bit more evenly dispersed than most shows.
But yeah, it's still you have, that's essentially the Kirk Bones McCoy Spock thing,
Yeah.
because you've got a Vulcan, the human captain, and the very emotional Trip Tucker, you know.
Yeah.
And he even said kind of Bones-like things to T'Pol. Yeah. Deep Space Nine didn't really have that. The trifecta
But we had,
did it.
We had, Watson. Who was our character?
Oh, Sato.
Yeah.
I don't know. She didn't have much. She was kind of a horror. She didn't unfortunately have much of a character. I didn't think.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's...
Unless you count that episode where she meets a kind of Tumblr nice guy,
Oh my god, yes. That was funny.
a nice guy alien.
Grave with his previous twins. I don't
I just want you to like me. Oh, creepy.
Very. I don't know. I don't. Here's a question: how much of that is a Star Trek thing, and how much of that is just a television structure thing? Because plenty of shows. I mean, if you go into your episodic police hospital dramas, etc., you always have your 2 or 3 main characters that will show together, and that just seems like a more of a narrative device. So I don't know how much of that is Star Trek, and how much of that is just...
Yeah. The funny thing I find that they've never done with Star Trek is they've never done like the large ensemble cast, like where you have a huge cast, like something like Lost, and there's like a bunch of different characters and you're developing them all at once. Because, yeah, I suppose it's because you have a command structure that you kind of have to have, well, there's got to be be the captain, there's got to be all the officers, the crew kind of breaks itself up. You've got to have the medical officer, you've got to have a helmsman, science officer, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. You're on a single ship. The command structure of the ship tends to force you.
It tells you what the, yeah.
But I always thought if they were going to do a new Star Trek show, they would want it to be quite different. I would like if they had a ship to it.
Yeah, that would be fun. Well, Star Trek Discovery does sum up the reason why the Mary Sue term was coined in Trek fan fiction.
Wait, did Mary Sue come from Star Trek?
I don't know, did it?
Did Mary Sue come from Star Trek? I would be very interested. Or was that just a turn phrase?
Maybe. Oddly, Ensign Mary Sue is a parody of those characters. What do you guys think of Michael Burnham? Could she have been good? Could she have been a good character if they played her a little bit differently? Made her a little bit less, like, megalomaniacal?
I don't think with the current writers. Do you mean with better writers?
I mean, what could they have done with her that would make Michael Burnham work?
Not immediately make her captain and have her... Not... For me, it's that every time she fucks up, it ends up being the right thing.
And she falls upwards, yeah.
Yeah.
She falls up the stairs.
No, can she actually fuck up and have some real consequence and be like, no, you screwed up here. All of our previous Star Trek captains that had it,
Right.
and they've been reprimanded for making the wrong decision. And every time she makes a decision, it ends up being, but you were right all along. No, she's supposed to be a real person. She's supposed to also make mistakes. So fun if she never makes real mistakes. Here's some came from the fan fiction of the Sister
Oh.
Movies, specifically a parody of female
Self-insert, yeah. She's like the recent movie Kirk fails into the captain's chair. I don't think they understand what it takes to actually become a captain
Yeah.
in one of these series. I don't think they have any idea what that means.
I mean, at the very least, in Enterprise and TNG, they really lay out what their captains had to do to have gotten to that point.
And they're already a bit older by the time they're captains. You know?
Yeah. I mean, the only reason why Arthur maybe got to the captain's chair a little earlier than some was because he was, the young hotshot, and also because his father was involved in the project and the program. But still, they outlined that he wasn't going to pick first for the project, and then he had to kind of fight for it so that he could get the end of it.
Yeah.
Here's what I make my burn work. First off, don't make her Spock's dumb sister agree when the show hasn't shown Spock's brother.
Yeah, they don't show Cybok anywhere else, do they? You remember Cybok? From Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Played by Lawrence Luckinbill, who was going to be Sean Connery, but they chose Lawrence Luckinbill, who I thought was a really great actor in that role, actually. I thought he was really great as Cybok. He was meant to be the televangelist type who converts all these people. Yeah. So in reality, Kirk is a nightmare. Federation HR department, yeah. You're paying next time. Yeah.
I'm just wondering how long
I think it's pretty much immediately you're like, oh great, I'm an admiral. Well, I don't like being an admiral. I prefer to be on a starship, but at least this way I can sort of sponsor all these really dodgy research projects, and I can do evil kind of secret shit. I can get Section 31 involved to try and save the Federation.
Second, give her the kind of personality that goes, I can't do it on my own and I need help. And more or less, I'm not fully developed and I'm getting there. Yeah, that would be much... It would be much more... I think, for me, sorry, words, tired.
Yeah.
on that point, if she was just a little more humble.
Yeah, she's so arrogant.
Yeah.
It's really unattractive, actually.
But just a drop of humility would make that character so much better. But she always seems to know she's right. She always knows she's the best.
And, the thing that makes me sad is that they apparently based the idea of somebody like Michael Burnham, they based her off the astronaut Mae Jemison, who's a really wonderful, inspiring. She's a warm, better. Like I've seen her speak about, because she's been on Star Trek. She actually turns up as a transporter chief at one point, and it's like, it's Mae Jemison. She's been in actual space, and apparently she was really excited to be on Star Trek. It's like, why are you excited to be on Star Trek? You've been to actual space. We just pretend we're in space. But they based her on Mae Jemison, and it's just this really horrible insult to that idea. But I don't know. They never got rewarded. They were always the villain.
And they were just the one that everyone found annoying. Like, Bashir was really arrogant at the beginning. People didn't really have faith for him
And
for that reason.
yeah, he had his corners knocked off him
Yeah.
by later seasons. And he developed into something much more likable.
Yes. And I'm not saying all characters have to be likable. But first of all, I do kind of think their lead should be likable. If that's
Yeah.
the whole premise of the show. And if they're not likable, don't keep continuously rewarding them and saying for that unlikable behavior. And saying, this makes them better.
It's what resolves the plot every time. Is character, maverick, unpredictable, unaccountable character does something unaccountable and maverick, but it turns out that was the solution.
Yeah. But you can only do that so many damn times. It's like how Bond goes rogue in every movie.
And Kirk, people always say, well, Kirk did it. Kirk was a renegade. It's like, not really. The idea that he was a renegade mostly comes from Search for Spock, where that was him doing something desperate to save his friend.
Out of character.
And that was actually, that was extreme, and people were anyway. Go on.
Third, I only care about fictional characters if they actually care about other people, and she's learning that being in command means making tough decisions. Like, you have to make tough decisions, and we see her having to make them, and she doesn't want to send a friend to her death. Maybe make her journey discover that she's not suited for command. That would be actually, that'd be really interesting if you had a character in command that was slowly figuring out, actually, this isn't the best fit for me.
Mm-hmm. Right, that would be way more interesting.
I would be much more interested in that show.
Well, the thing I find most egregious about Burnham's character is that she makes everything about her.
Mm-hmm.
And even when other people die, and she gets to screw up her face and go like, wah! And like she pounds on the window or whatever.
How much she cries.
Yeah, like she does that. It's all about her. It's all about her pain. It's like somebody else dies and she goes, "Oh, this makes me feel so much worse.
Yep.
I'm going to be really sad now." Not like, no, I'm sad because my friend died, and it was shocking.
And my friend was such a good person. This is tragic.
It means, oh, this makes me so much more interesting because I'm tortured. Wow.
She cries so much.
So much crying.
So much crying in Discovery.
I do not respond to manipulative crying.
I hate the crying. Now we're going to Burnham.
Mm-hmm.
Our next station is Burnham.
You're kidding. Oh no. That is actually the next stop on this line as well.
John, I think it's all being about. I think it all being about her says a lot about the writers. Yeah, definitely.
Totally.
No, we don't need her to go cry. I'm gonna start.
That's alright. This controller is getting a lot of controller drift. It's really beginning to annoy me. I mean, how much more powerful was it when Picard is so reserved that one time he's like, in Generations, where he says, set a course, maximum warp, and Riker's like, are you sure, sir? And he goes, just do it!
Yep.
And that's like the closest you get to Picard actually. I mean, that's kind of the beginning of him going, no, and screaming in first contact. That's maybe already a mistake, but.
Nothing wrong with showing someone being a position of command, but it never feels earned. Like, it's completely manipulative, and she does it for absolutely everything. When she cries, it means absolutely nothing. Like, I feel like she would cry if she stepped on an ant.
Exactly. There's a distance between the personal and the professional.
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting about how much the new Star Treks are screwing up is showing actually there's reasons why it works the way it does in the older shows. Is that there's actually a good reason for that.
Yeah. And also she's at work, or she's functionally at work.
Yeah.
And she's functionally just losing her shit at work all the time. None of us would handle that in real life.
Well, she just, she resorts to violence where it's completely unnecessary and seems to revel in it.
Yeah.
Like, you remember where she's, like, shooting people with those stupid ray guns and they're disintegrating and she's like, ha 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 ha, what? Oh my god!
Yep.
It's like, that's something a psychopath would do.
Yep. And there was never a sense of, let's try not to kill these people. Let's put the phaser on stun.
It's something that Richard has pointed out a few times, actually, is that the J.J. Abrams brood, as soon as they got their hands on Star Trek, from 2009 on, really, there's been a kind of focus on grimness and death and also a cheapening of human life.
Mm-hmm.
They have a weird thing about bringing people back from the dead and resurrecting people with apparently no... They just want cheap, stupid ways around having killed characters. They want the dramatic thing of killing a character. They even did it with Michelle Yeoh. They kill her character off, which I was really pissed off about. So I was like, yes, Michelle Yeoh, awesome character. I don't want, but then they just bring her back as, oh, I'm the evil twin. Like, oh my god. Make her journey, I'm not suited to command, but I'm not going to step away from this. And she goes to sciences or engineering.
Yeah, great.
Starfleet is huge. Why not make an engineer the main character or a science officer? Exactly. Yeah. I think their whole thing was that they wanted the anti-hero. They wanted the Dexter, or they wanted the, I don't know, the Breaking Bad character. They wanted somebody who has a dark past. Oh shit. Oh shit.
Alright, we want to stop for a minute.
We're gonna overshoot that. Oh, this is a problem. This might not count this as a stop. I go much further.
There we go. That's fine. Everyone run to the back.
Somehow that counts. Wait. Ah, fucking controller drift. Meant I didn't select that. See, look. So that means people are getting off there.
Yeah, it's fine. I can walk around.
Onto, yeah, they can walk directly onto a 125 mile an hour rated line. Now.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Some set in the Orion Syndicate.
Yeah. Star Trek about anti-hero, yeah. The funny thing is, I think there are things that other franchises do better. I've not watched The Expanse. I'm told that's really good for seedy underbelly, kind of, dirty, tough choices future.
Yeah.
That's the kind of Cyberpunk 2077 type future. Star Trek was never about that to me. Star Trek was the get it, optimism.
Yep.
The future will be better than now. The future will also
What's the whole point?
not be about... I mean, it is about the problems that we have now, because that's always what they were doing, but it's presenting a future in which some of those issues are resolved, not just reflected exactly because that's what the writers just want their opinion to win. What were you saying?
It is true that Cisco and Archer were a bit of an anti-hero. I think they're more just a bit more rebellious than most. But to me, the actual function of Starfleet captain, which is something that someone would have had to work a very rigorous career to, does not lend itself to the anti-hero.
No.
If you want to make an anti-hero in Star Trek, fine, but I don't think they can be the captain. How did they get there? How are they leading a ship of people as an anti-hero and not having to do it?
Exactly, and they kind of present... What I liked about Picard is that they presented him as someone who, in his youth, was kind of an arrogant, rebellious dickhead, but he cleaned up his act so that he could rise to the level of captain of a flagship.
I just think we want to make an anti-hero in Star Trek, which, again, that would just like to acknowledge that Star Trek isn't about anti-heroes. But if you really want to do that, then you can do that. Do something like what they clearly wanted to do with the Tom Paris figure.
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't do for rights reasons, someone who fucked up and is trying to work their way back up, but still kind of fucked up. And I mean, it's not quite an anti-hero, but that's still a better framing point. Someone that fucked out of, a prison camp, work camp.
That's right. Michael Byrne essentially has the Tom Paris origin.
Yeah.
She's not even an original idea. They just got it from Tom Paris.
But then they immediately just throw her in the captain.
Can you imagine Captain Tom Paris? Like, no.
Exactly. That's basically what they did. But without any of the either work, because it's still like Tom Paris and more character development than she has. Which is insane.
And of course, when I was a kid and watching Voyager for the first time, I thought Tom Paris was really cool.
Well, yeah.
Because he was the wisecracking kind of hero swashbuckling character. He does all the action, he's running around. But I thought Janeway was a cool captain because I trusted her.
Yeah.
I was like, even as a child, well, I probably should. And then she kills Tuvix, but I thought, yeah, she will guide the ship well. Like I had that sense even as a kid.
Yeah.
Cisco, I gotta say, I didn't warm to Cisco until I was older.
Yeah. Makes sense, though.
And I don't think it's because I was a racist.
I'm reasonably certain it wasn't. I mean,
Well, you gotta, that's what everybody thinks these days if you say anything like that.
Yeah. But I don't
People
know.
are like, well, you just denied you're racist.
I mean, Cisco doesn't seem terribly likable in the beginning, and I think until you realize that that's rooted in a lot of trauma, which I don't think you realize as a kid.
Right, well, he's kind of a...
He becomes a lot more sympathetic when you realize that.
Right, he's this traumatized lunatic who's been trying to hold together everything on his own. I did see something nice. There was a nice article about how Deep Space Nine, by the later season, once Cassidy Yates gets involved, the freighter captain, once she gets involved, like, actually, it's a really sweet story about a black family in space, and they didn't call that much attention to it. They just kind of did it, and it just kind of turned into this sweet story.
There wasn't a point made of it. It was just there.
And we spend a lot of time getting to know them, and you know, Jake Sisko is really well fleshed out, especially by later on.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a great idea to have him not want to be part of Starfleet.
Yeah, I liked that quite a bit. It made him different.
Because otherwise you can't just have him be another Wesley Crusher.
Yeah.
You've got to do something different with Jake Sisko.
He really would have just been another Wesley Crusher otherwise. Oh god, yeah, I just thought about how similar those two characters are. We all know how much everyone loves Wesley Crusher.
Sisko's the best captain despite being commander for the first few seasons in regards to his Tom Paris characterization.
The thing is, Chakotay, I think, had a hand on his shoulder to be captain. Yeah, I think he would have been a good captain. But I mean, technically when he was with the Maquis, maybe he was a captain for different forms.
Right.
I did like how in Voyager Janeway immediately changed to officer, which makes a lot of sense.
Right.
About how keep the peace in the team. But I like that they didn't. I don't know. I feel like they didn't really figure that out. I like it.
I liked that episode where basically he is effectively captain because Janeway's gone lockdown.
Yeah.
She's gone a bit Captain Nemo.
Yeah. Welcome to 2019 right now.
Exactly.
I need that one.
Chakotay would have stripped naked every time they encounter a new alien. Again, Captain? Yes, the ancestors said we are doing this. There was some dodginess around. We've talked about this before. There was some dodginess around Chakotay's characterization, and especially since it turns out that all of the cultural stuff was fake. It was all made up.
Yeah.
And because of a consultant who was also a fraud. No. I mean, it showed, I have to say, it did show some willing to do something with the idea of, alright, what's happened to the Native Americans? Have they just assimilated into global society? Or have they effectively kind of cut themselves off and they have their own colonies now?
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that was a little bit of a ill-judged idea, especially to have Picard have to show up again and basically go, oh, yeah, we can't need to fuck off because we need to, the Cardassians are going to take over and...
Yeah.
It's not one thing, exactly. It's
Aren't they all magical spirit animals that they
God.
channel by sitting on a deer skin? Deep sarcasm.
Of course, yeah.
I worry.
It's the internet. Sarcasm's far too dangerous.
Then again, I am in England. Sarcasm is reasonably understood.
Okay, funny story from the Delta Flyers podcast. Slightly self-aggrandizingly, what's his name? Garrett Wang, who plays Harry Kim on Voyager. He told a story on one of the podcasts I was listening to saying that he thought Harry Kim should have more of a role. Oh, no, okay. It was I think it was as the changeover was happening. They were starting to come up with the concept for Enterprise right at the end of Voyager. So there was a bit of an overlap there.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least you're not Mayweather. Ooh. Ensign Mayweather, I don't know. I liked him, but I know a lot of people didn't. But yeah, there was a story about him going into the producer's office and asking, look, there's a lot of rising tensions with China at the moment, because this would have been about the year 2000, 2001. There's a lot of rising tensions with China, so why don't we give Harry Kim an important role, and why don't you make Ensign Sato a Chinese character, because that would be a good way to kind of, because then that, at least in the universe of Enterprise, there would still be nations, I think. There's still America, there's still, there's not a completely global world government anymore, or not yet anyway. But it turned out they said, well, we already had a Chinese character. That was Harry Kim. And they didn't even know that Kim is a Korean name. And it was just, so embarrassing.
Well, didn't they also have him say, like, ancient Chinese commerce?
Oh God, it was this close to them to having him say Confucius he say. Although, Garrett Wang said it could have been worse. They could have had me go to the replicator and go, chow mein, please. Like, they could have been so much more stereotypical. Because that was very much the 90s idea of diversity, wasn't it? That was like,
so many stereotypes as you can.
The black guy gets some fried chicken, and in a way, it signals some progress that we can look back on a show that I remember coming out when it was new, and we can see, oh wow, people really were not sensitive to a lot of problems here. I'm glad that we have come forward since then. Like, it's not surprising you would print at something that's 80 years old. But something that's only 20 years old, or maybe it's closer to 30 now. It might even be 30 years old soon. Let's think. 94. So yeah, 2024, Voyager will be 30 years old. Scary. Because I remember watching the pilot. We found it the other day. There was this funny little shop we found in Reading where they had old VHS sets. Yeah, so they had like Doctor Who, Stargate. There were a few Stargate VHSs. There was Babylon 5, yeah. In shitty kind of 90s VHS quality. But I can remember that exact cover that I remember my dad bringing back, and we watched it. You know what's crazy? They were fighting for a Captain Sulu show. They should have bloody done that. Not only because Sulu's amazing and George Takei was totally up for it, but also because I love the USS Excelsior. That's my favourite ship of Star Trek, I think. There are a lot of top favourite starship designs, but I think the Excelsior. I think the Excelsior is my favourite. I think because it's not an Enterprise. It's not one of the obvious ones. And it showed up a lot for a ship that wasn't a main show ship. It showed up tons on TNG and Deep Space Nine. It was part of the main fleet of Deep Space Nine. The only sci-fi show I can think of that has a diverse cast and the race of the characters is never mentioned, not even once, is Red Dwarf. That's a good point. It's very funny. Yeah, they never bring it up.
Well, that was a nice thing. That was was barely ever brought up. They only made a point of it like once or twice.
There's a couple of really
I know
dodgy bits where, like, Abraham Lincoln calls Uhura a negress.
Yes.
It's
well,
like,
that's one of the
oh.
Yeah, but at least.
But her response is quite interesting, and she goes like, "Oh, it doesn't bother me. You know, we've moved past."
We've moved past that. I don't know. I just thought it was she handled that wonderfully gracefully.
As only the Queen Nichelle Nichols could. She is the most elegant woman alive, I think.
Yes.
You should have actually seen the Red Dwarf charity stream they did. Cat being played by... Oh yeah, Cat was... what's his name? I don't know the name of the actor. Nichelle Nichols is lovely. I wish I could meet her sometime, but... I wish she did. I don't know if... she may be a little old to do cons now, but... She's still going. Danny John Jules, there we go. I was nearly punched in the face by him with a belt buckle. You need to tell that story, Stephen. Less said about the US Red Dwarf, the better. Oh yeah, I forgot there was a US Red Dwarf. Okay? Because it has Federation in the name? Federation of Trekkers. Sorry, I thought you said truckers. Okay. Cool. Okay. It must be a fairly old one then. From back in the day.
So I mean, she's still doing things. This is how that article from 4 days ago.
Fantastic. Yeah, Danny John Jules, I've heard some stories. Apparently he attacked some bin men or something. he attacked some bin men with a sword. I think he did some time for it.
With a sword?
I think so.
How is that not... I'm sorry, okay. The first version of that story you said was he attacked a bin man. And then the second version is with the sword. I feel like you need to lead
That
with the sword.
that was in one of the Alien Isolation streams that the guys did on Valverde. I think that was mentioned there. Look up Danny John Jules. It'll be in his Wikipedia. That type of stuff tends to be. When you've attacked someone with a sword, that'll be in your Wikipedia. That's usually where they put it.
Ah, there it is. In 2008, John Jules was convicted of assaulting
Oh,
two
no.
men. He was ordered to do 120 hours of police service, punishment and pay £350 and cost £75 compensation to each man. So he attacked them with a sword and had to give them each 75 quid.
Yeah.
Apparently after, he said he did not accept the assault conviction and said afterwards he had a clear conscience.
Okay.
Although it doesn't mention a sword here. I don't know if it mentions a sword.
Alright, maybe I imagine the sword. I thought there was a sword involved, though. I could have been wrong.
Jules. Sword.
Stephen Allen, you know what I thought was a solid Star Trek show? Star Trek-like show, Parks and Rec. Very diverse, very optimistic, and it's all about working together. That's an interesting idea. What's a secret Star Trek show?
Also, you were not wrong about the sword. Sorry, I was just confirming.
Good.
It was a samurai sword.
A samurai sword? Oh my god.
Sorry, what were we saying? I was reading.
Secret Star Trek shows that are all... They have the ethos of Star Trek, but they're not set in space. So he just said Parks and Rec, because it's diverse, it's optimistic, and it's all about working together.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
If you set
That's really
so
funny.
something that if you set it on the Enterprise would fit.
It would just be a Star Trek show, yeah.
Yep. Oh god, I love the idea of Leslie Knope in space.
Just her doing the direct-to-camera kind of the bits where she's really self-aggrandizing. Like, there's a documentary crew on the Enterprise.
That makes me deeply happy, the idea of that.
That's so funny. I was working at Collectomania and he was laughing about a belt buckle and tried popping me in the face, but I was too close, so I'm assuming you actually got hit.
Sorry, I'm pulling it up. It got cut off. Also, yeah, I was working. Tried to pop me in the face, but I was too close, so I had to lean back.
Wow.
Leslie Knope being part of the USS Pawnee.
Amazing.
Oh, I love that. That's freaking hilarious.
I'm just imagining Aubrey Plaza giving everyone evils now, as she's the assistant that has the.
Yup. Oh, she's the best character on that show. I mean, I've never sat down and watched Parks and Rec through, but it's been a lot of episodes and always.
The funniest thing I ever saw was people trying to make Aubrey Plaza crack.
Yeah.
She would be a Vulcan. Yeah.
She'd be a great Vulcan on the show.
It's true.
Alright, well now we're saying Parks and Rec space. I think it's another one. I'm gonna think on that.
You could say. The West Wing act has moments where it feels like it's got the ethos of Star Trek somewhere in it, even though they didn't mock Star Trek.
That would be like a Federation thing.
Yeah.
Like a Star Trek family thing. It would be in the universe.
Be future politics. Yeah. Oh my god! Ron is a Klingon. He goes, I'm really proud of you. What's that amazing episode where Aubrey Plaza thought a certain date that didn't exist? So she scheduled all the meetings for that day.
Oh my god.
She thought the 31st of a certain month didn't exist.
But she was wrong.
But she was wrong, and that was one of the ones that does exist. So it turns out that Ron has 400 meetings on this one day. It's really good. That was such a funny show. I don't think I ever finished it. I think I watched 2 or 3 seasons of it. Yeah, Tom and Dreaming of. Yeah, that would make sense. So where is Chris Pratt? Because he's got to be the kind of.
He's definitely an ensign.
But he should be kind of an out of work. He's not got an assignment, so he's just bumming around at somebody's quarters for a while.
And it's the ship captain. Yeah, that would track. I see him as the very eager ensign.
That's a good point.
I think he'd probably be in engineering. Because that's where he'd have the most opportunities and stuff like.
True. So he's a little bit Ensign Purple Hair.
Yeah. Oh, she's doctor. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I guess that's kind of
trying to imagine. Yeah, there may also be, you could almost do a legal procedural show, that's almost a Star Trek show, in that there's a problem to be solved every week. And, they've got to use their wits to come up with a clever way to do it. Usually. So there's a strategy they need to find out to get the plan. Well, usually in those legal procedural shows, it usually turns out that they've tried several things already, and it's looking bad. By minute 32, it's looking pretty rough, and it's unlikely they're going to be able to get this, innocent person out of jail to stay, to not be in jail. What if we argued not for this, but what if we argued for that? How would that work? And then then there's the final 6 minutes courtroom scene. Right.
Pretty sure we just describing either Fiddler the Man or what's that horrible episode we watched? That's a good episode. The one we watched the other day with Devil.
Oh, Devil's Due.
Devil's Due.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one.
That was not. I remembered it as a terrible episode, but when we rewatched it,
it's fun. It's a fun one.
It definitely feels like a original series episode.
Picard is basically Kirk in that episode, really. The bit where he uses her tricks on on her. Come back, Audra, if you can. Yeah. But that's a little bit. That's Kirk.
Yeah.
Come back, Audra, if you can.
Oh God, yes.
If you can.
Yeah, Stephen Allen, I'm very impressed by this theory. It works much better than I would think.
Although we did say when we were watching that episode, the idea that Picard's just so unconvinced by religion, he just goes, nah, mate, it's a trick. It's obviously a trick.
There's a whole episode where he lets himself be killed for fear of civilization developing religion.
But immediately, as soon as he sees the tricks, and Worf is buying into it, he's like, but her powers.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but think about it. We've got technology that could do all those things. Come on.
Yeah.
Think about it.
I just love that to Picard...
Immediately, it's just, nope. There's no way this is...
The worst possible thing is religion.
Yeah, the worst possible thing... when they say, eventually there could be crusades and holy wars, he's like, horrifying. He's just horrified by the idea of there being a religion, especially one in it, that worships him.
Well, that's just it.
Or some weird version of him.
It would be fair enough if he just hated the idea of them worshipping him, but it was really just he was mortified of the idea of reintroducing religion. Period.
Right.
The fact that it was about him was just the icing.
I will not abandon these people to fear and superstition. No. He's that's a huge rant about it. It's really good.
And then it's like, if you need to kill me to believe that religion is not a thing, then shoot away. Oh, that episode.
Evolves beyond religion. Yes. It's very funny.
I don't really want to watch that episode again for a while because I feel like I've seen it loads, but it is a good one.
Who Watches the Watchers?
Yeah.
I think it's probably in my top favourite Star Trek episodes.
It's really good. I just feel like I've seen it a lot.
Yeah.
We were here 2 hours ago.
That's true.
Well done on that run. It seems you can handle any service in the Thames Valley that we have to offer. Keep up the great work.
The thing is, I loved, as a young angry atheist in my 20s, I really loved TNG for just being fully, nah, religion's terrible. But then I think now I really enjoy Deep Space Nine because it deals with the reality of, well, okay, sometimes you can't just not have religion, but it's not as simple as that. So you have to figure out a way to deal with it.
Oh, Stephen Allen, don't remind me of that. I'll think of Kai Wynn. Hate Kai Wynn.
And that's what's so great. Kai Wynn's such a fantastic character.
I hate her so much. I think her and Mr. Morden are probably her,
Mr.
Mr.
Morden.
and Dolores Umbridge are probably.
I see. You don't like those manipulative characters.
I despise them. I'm not even a Harry Potter person, and I despise Dolores Umbridge.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite episodes, Conundrum. Yeah, is the one they lose all their memories, and they. Oh yeah, the other ensign who's just there. You remember the camera moves and there's just like some rando.
Wait, what?
Do you remember the episode where they all lose their memories?
Yes.
And the camera
yes.
pans. Ensign Rowe and Riker fuck.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
And they decide, and Worf decides he's the captain because he has the sash.
Yeah.
I like the idea though that at the end of that episode, because yeah, there is Ensign Rando and he thinks he's all important
Mhm.
and prominent, and then they all get their memories back. It's like, oh yeah, you're nobody. Go back downstairs.
Yeah.
Get off the bridge. Oh.
It is quite funny how, despite not being in the right roles, they are still acting like those people. Like,
Yeah.
Picard is like, oh look, it seems to be that determining hierarchy is not really important right now. What we need to do is this and this. And he's still being a leader, just...
Yep. And Worf is still being... Blow them up. I don't know why I said that.
We now have full power. You know, it's like, oh boy.
I'll read that since it got cut off. Isn't Ensign Rowe, like, not religious until her and Geordi think they may have just died, and Rose starts actually thinking about her religion seriously.
Oh, yeah, no, that is an interesting... okay, so the Red Letter Media guys did a review of certain episodes recently, and that was one of the ones they did, and they said the reason that that's such a great episode is that they perfectly chose the two characters, because you've got the really religious one who's like, this is it, we're dead, like, nothing we can do, and you've got Geordi who is going, no, come on, are you telling me I'm a blind ghost with clothes? What the hell does that mean? Like, well, no, come on, this is obviously, we're not dead, this is just, this is a problem that we can fix, how do we do that? And there's a lovely contrast between those.
Come to think of it, don't they do some... I don't know how I forgot this. Don't they do the exact same thing on Enterprise? Remember, his trip starts interrupting, or whichever character is invisible starts interrupting the flow on the ship so that the lights do SOS. Morse code or something like that.
Yeah,
Maybe
there's a...
Paul? One of them becomes invisible, so they signal to the crew
Yeah.
by cutting off power to something and making a ticking sound that's SOS. Isn't that basically the same
I think
thing?
that's, yeah, I think I remember that now. That's the problem with, yeah, there's so many of those in Enterprise where it's like, you've run out of ideas now.
Yep. Yeah, I think she was meant to be Kira, wasn't she? Ensign Rowe?
That's right. That's correct.
I'm kind of glad she wasn't. I don't know, I never really liked Ensign Rowe all that much.
Right, she's meant to be the B'Elanna Torres character, because that's right, Ensign Rowe joins the Marquis at the end
Yeah.
of TNG.
I never really liked Ensign Rowe that much. I didn't find her too interesting.
Which means the ship will explode. Like, oh, that sounds very bad. Oh no.
I hated her in that episode. I mean, I know I wasn't supposed to like her in that episode, but I don't know. I always find her rather annoying.
Why
Why are the windshield wipers?
are the
going?
windshield wipers going? What's that about?
They were bored. But they wanted to go. Sorry, are the controls above you? Or they're at the top?
Oh, there we are. Stopped it. Preferred her to Kira, at least at the beginning. Kira just really got on my nerves.
Okay, by saying I don't like Ensign Rowe, I'm not saying that I do like Kira. I kind of dislike both of them. Especially, yeah, I don't know, I think must have revenge, must destroy the Cardassians, and that just got worse and worse.
I
and
know.
worse, and it got to the point where it was such a trope.
Though Ro was in Rascals and learned to embrace her inner child by jumping on a bed. Spare us. Do you remember that episode where they all get turned into kids?
Regrettably.
What have I not done?
Set the train brakes to running.
Oh, nobody says anything about Rascals. The greatest line Picard has ever said. Thanks, number one, Dad. I mean, he's my number one dad. It's season 6. Yes, I remember it. I watched that episode as a kid when it first came out. My mum was like, "What the fuck are you watching?"
I cannot imagine your mother saying that.
No, she's like, "What is this, Michael? This is the silliest thing." It's one of the things I still remember the way she said it. I was watching it with somebody else was around visiting, and when the credits went, my mum turned to me as a kid and just goes, "Well," and I was like, "Oh, leave me alone. I like my Star Trek." Star Trek is not my mum's bag. Let's put it that way. It's not even really my dad's. I mean, I've watched way more than my dad does. He's more of a Isaac Asimov, conceptual, very heady, no characters, no emotions, conceptual only. He's like that.
Yeah, I feel like it ran on the budget of getting past the
Well, had to get to the kid.
That's how, I feel like that's how Riker stabbed in the brain for the
Riker stabbed in the brain clip show.
You know exactly what episode.
I do.
So
Shades of Grey. That was a poor episode.
I've looked at quite a lot of ratings of the first Star Trek episodes, and that pretty consistently.
It tops them all, doesn't it?
I
Yeah.
mean,
They really
always
hate it.
top 5, usually.
Yeah, me too. Right. Star Trek was something I inherited from my mum and my old man. We stuck with it until Enterprise. We couldn't do Enterprise. That's right. I wonder if there's something I can do to change that so it completes the comment. Maybe we could change the size of the text or something. That's right, you can contact me. Yes, I definitely smell shite.
Oh, it's fine, they come off pretty short.
I still love the one where two people go past and they've said, one of them said something that's clearly a lie. She goes, shite. Yeah, sorry about that. I need to find if there's a way to change that. It's just the simplest way for me to read the comments because it shows up on my TV as they come in. So that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, it's some Scottish sketch show in which this woman regularly looks at things, or somebody's come door to door selling something, and she goes, "Oh yes, I definitely smell shite." But the way she says it is much more chewing the fat. That's it. It's chewing the fat. Yeah, there's quite a few people that use it actually. Chewing the fat gets around. Rabsy Nesbit was very funny. Possibly. I can remember seeing Star Wars, the first Star Wars, as a kid with my dad, and he would put it on while he was doing the ironing and stuff, and I was going googly goo as a baby. Oh, so you didn't watch Land Before Time?
Land Before Time was fine because that was animated and clearly fiction. I was allowed to watch documentary.
Oh, so no Jurassic. Well, obviously no Jurassic Park.
Well,
It's pretty gruesome.
you know, I was definitely not.
I tried to show an American friend of mine, Rabsy Nesbit, and their eyes glazed over, and they were like, "Is he speaking English?" No, he is not. He's speaking Glasgow. That often forgotten animated spin-off Droids. Oh yeah, there was a Droids cartoon, wasn't there? How many of those did they make? So it's like it's a ridiculous number of Land Before Time. I just remember watching the first one. And I, at some point, Land Before Time 4, yeah. Oh? Oh no! Just murdered? Jeez.
And now I can never. I just realized I'm kind of tear in my face.
Life is pain. I mean, arguably Star Trek was oversaturated. I mean, by the time we got to Enterprise, there'd just been too much. It's clear they didn't have more things to do with it. It's not like, oh, we've got this really amazing new idea for a story. It's like, well, they tried that with Voyager and then they just didn't really flesh it out. Yeah. The Star Wars universe is kind of for people that... Right, the Star Wars universe is kind of for people that don't really know anything about science. Whereas the actual science nerds watch Star Trek. What? There's no Star Wars fans watching here. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine having a fight.
Alright, fine, fair enough.
I can start fighting some Star Wars fans. I mean, really, this is this franchise that got the unit of parsec wrong. That nobody cares. Like, that was quite weird, yeah. That's the thing, is that I don't think, Star Trek The Next Generation was popular, but not the way that they're trying to make it popular now. It was well loved by a small kind of dedicated fan base, but the UK kind of abandoned sci-fi in the 90s, apart from Star Trek, we lost Doctor Who, Star Wars and rerun the original back to it. Yeah, there really wasn't a lot. There were some really great kids sci-fi. Like, I don't know if either of you guys watched Aquila as a kid. Aquila was great. It's this Martian, a Martian escape pod. It kind of looks like a red. No, it's like a red beam that has like a window in the front of it and two open doors on the sides. And it has all these kind of alien controls. And it has a cloaking device. These two kids find it in a hole in the ground, and they steal it, and they kind of fly around and have adventures with it. Eventually they start parking in front of the church, stuff like that. It's absolutely great. That was a lovely sci-fi series. I watched loads of it. And they, you know, I think they get around. They tell the adults, "Oh, it's a prop from a movie," and then, you know, obviously they've got to hide it in various ways. At one point, there's a, you know, it gets. They put it in cloak mode when they leave it behind, right? So they remember where they left it. And somebody leaves chewing gum on the throttle, so it's slightly going forward at a really, really slow, rate. But it's invisible, so they don't know where it's gone. But it's really slowly going to like to start demolishing buildings and stuff. It's so great. Yeah, the finale of, you know, somewhere, the idea that somewhere there's like a secret battleship that the Aquila came from, and then it turns out that Aquila is not a ship on its own, it's an escape pod from that ship. That was the cliffhanger that they left the whole series on. They never resolved that. And I thought, okay, maybe that's a good way to leave it, and just not. I remember it being a thing, but teenage at the time, they were glad its opening was massive. Oh yeah, this really awesome opening song. I'm gonna have to show you it later.
You should. 7 years of study is
Oh yeah, because the reason it's called Aquila is that it was apparently Aquila was originally found by like a Roman who used to fly it around in Roman times. Then he crashed it and died, and they find like a Roman centurion's like skeleton in the cockpit. Aquila was meant to continue with the kids getting into the battleship, but apparently the talks broke down. Trailers actually put Will. Sorry about that. Yeah. That's a shame. Because it was a really fun show. And they're kind of using it to impress girls and stuff. So one of them takes his girlfriend on a flight across the ocean in Aquila to kind of impress her, you know. Watch spaceship. That was in the era of, like, there were some really good kids shows. Ooh, a kids sci-fi show that was made, it was actually Australian made, but was broadcast on the BBC. Return to Jupiter. I just remember the theme song, and it had David Wenham, who's Faramir in Lord of the Rings. Rounded Twist! Sorry. Rounded Twist was a thing. Okay, we're going to watch the intros to all of these different shows. Rounded Twist. We go in, round the twist. No, that was Australian as well. They weren't broken. There was quite a lot of stuff that was made. I remember I think there were even Australian adaptations of Enid Blyton series. So like the mysteries, the five, what is it? The Secret Seven? I think the Secret Seven was made into a series. Right. Our Boomerang, Magical Stray. Yeah. I remember this really awesome episode of was it Secret Seven? Where they updated the story, and it was like this weird bioterrorism plot where they're all living in this they're staying for the summer in this forest in a it's supposed to be an Eastern European country, and there's this mad scientist researching spider venom, and he wants to turn it into some sort of toxic thing, like a bio agent or something like that, and the kids had to stop it. I remember that was like 5 weeks of television where I was totally into it. I was like, yeah, this is great. I want to see if they managed to stop the guy developing crazy bioterrorist serum. Oh yeah, that was one of the first times that I saw the dilemma where, okay, so somebody's gotten bitten by a really nasty spider, and they've got two vials that look exactly the same. They say, right, one of them's the antidote, and one of them is just more of the poison, but we can't tell them apart. So their solution was, well, we have to give them both, because that's the way it is. And as a kid, I was like, sure, because the antidote will work on both. I know that after Buffy, every sci-fi show after that could... Did that get cut off? I thought it was fairly short, but I don't know. I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't assume YouTube wouldn't just ruin people's comments just doing that. Buffy was a thing. I never got into Buffy. I think I watched like one episode of it and it didn't really grab me. So everyone was nuts about it at school though. They were all just like, oh, the film show go too hard. It's like, yeah, she was. Right. I.e. badass ass kicking hot teenage girl who also goes to school. But in her spare time fights vampires. Buffy was like this gigantic thing. Everyone was into Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I still remember a kid at my school getting in lots of trouble because somehow he got around the internet block and managed to find like a fake nude photo of Sarah Michelle Gellar in the school computer lab, and he was just some porn, yeah. Porn. But it was like a really kind of obviously bad Photoshop, because, you know, Photoshop wasn't just cut and paste kind of back. Oh god, it was almost that bad. That, like, the lighting didn't quite match, and it was quite obvious what that wasn't. I think the person's skin tone wasn't the same either. That's true. Every show. So Buffy has had, I guess, a bit of an influence that's still being felt to this day. Every show nowadays has something based around Buffy. Discovery has a lot of Buffys. It's true. You've got all these badass characters that would just yeah, that's the approach to writing women characters. It's just make them a badass. Well, this is something that annoys me about something like Westworld, where, okay, so you've got this great story where you've got these horribly oppressed robots that have been abused, that they literally exist to be abused and mistreated, murdered over and over again, treated awfully, and you're going to have them come into consciousness and become their own self-determining people that can choose their own destiny, and they've got powers way beyond anything that the human counterparts have. No, they're just going to murder everyone. They're just going to take a shotgun and blow everyone away. Especially Maeve. She just literally has the Tandy Newton one, which is a shame because I really love Tandy Newton as a character. Although she's changed her name recently. I can't remember what she's changed it to. I just know her as but she her character begins to have the ability to control other robots, and at one point it's like, oh, that's kind of a cool power in Westworld. She can basically have an army rise up and take down humans. Nah, she just makes them all kill themselves. Robots, yeah. I love a good robot. What I wonder what amazing things. So you basically created data. You basically have two datas. You have Maeve, who became conscious, just not. Nobody was trying. Like Anthony Hopkins wasn't trying to make her. She naturally arose into full consciousness without actually being prompted. Whereas Dolores took time, and they were prompting her to do so. but they weren't expecting those to. It's like, great, what are you going to do with that? You've got these data-like characters that do so many interesting kind of explorations of consciousness and what is it like to be a machine, but murder. Well, unfortunately, I think because Westworld was already kind of billed as an action, kind of gory shootout kind of show, they needed that element still there, so they just had to make it about shooting people. Dark. Think Stranger Things, but good and German. Okay, Dark. So it's literally just called Dark. It's not called Dunkel. Yeah, the Yul Brynner. They kind of referenced the Yul Brynner Westworld a couple of times. The 17th. I've never seen it. Yeah, because by the time you finished season 1, I'd already watched a bit of season 2, and I was like, damn. It has no plot. It has no plot, and James Brolin looks like Christian Bale. Well, that's the thing. That's every Michael Crichton thing. Jurassic Park is like that. All of Jurassic Park. It's always about a park of some sort that's doing something really obviously questionable.
Yeah.
And then it all goes wrong. Oh no! How did that happen? That was.
We never could have seen this coming.
Who could possibly have imagined that?
I mean, people live out their horrible murder and rape fantasies can't possibly go wrong.
That's the other thing with Westworld, is that it's. I kind of hope just like, right, you're doing a lot of rape here. You're doing a lot of horrible mistreatment of people and abuse of, essentially sentient robots that seem to be aware on some level.
Yeah.
You better do something with this.
Yeah.
You better have a reason for showing us all this horrible stuff.
Yeah. It better be in service of something.
Andromeda Strain.
What if Disney got up and ate Florida?
To be fair, if anything would be in Florida, it probably would be Disney. So we've developed a morbid fascination for channels like Fascinating Horror. Fascinating Horror is a good one, and I listen to the podcast Well There's Your Problem, which is it's a podcast about engineering disasters and slides. That's how they usually say it. It's really funny.
Because we both have these pet interests, but one of our other pet interests, so I am interested in horrible tragedies and amusement parks because I'm pet interested
That's your specific, yeah.
pet interest, and then you have interest in horrible tragedies that involve trains.
I do, yeah. Because I like trains.
It's just so morbidly fascinating.
Well, the funniest thing with those channels is that because of the nature of what they have to discuss, they have to do it in a little bit of a somber way.
Yeah.
Because these are real horrible things that happen to people. But there is something hilarious about how often you're like, oh no, something, please don't go wrong, and then somebody says a date. 14th of September 1972, and you're like, no, something terrible's gonna happen. John Fuckface was going into work on a normal day in his job, mending the rides at Amusement Land, Florida. He neglected to take a critical tool with him. We do not know the reason why he suddenly decided to step into the path of an oncoming train. But separated his body into 19 different parts that were scattered all over the place. That happened, that one happened. He got mulched. Blech. He got reverse pile drivered, but upwards. Yeah. Why did somebody do this? Christ is this? Stephen. Was this John? Okay, so this is a head with legs coming out of it. Alright, well, it's fine, I'm not sleeping. Well, anyway, I don't need to... Don't plan on watching it again, it's too real. Are you talking about the Egyptian god Horus versus Scott Rail? The Egyptian god Horus versus Scott Rail? Is that an incident I don't know about? What's the god Horus? I don't remember what powers, or what domain Horus has power over. It's been a while since I watched the Stargate. Possibly the dark story of sexual abuse and horror. Lovely. My favourite subjects. Trying. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah, yep.
So all of that didn't count. Oh, poof!
You were supposed to stop the train. You didn't stop the train.
We were too busy talking about. Oh, Horus was cut into pieces and thrown in the Nile. I'd forgotten that. Okay. Lovely.
Oh no, we were talking about someone that climbed on top of an elevator at an amusement park. Why didn't you stop the train, Michael?
I didn't want to.
You
I
didn't
liked
want
the
to?
train going super fast, and I wanted to just keep it.
Oh. See, this is why you don't talk and drive trains at the same time.
Yeah, you do.
But then that happens. At least it wasn't one of the platforms at Reading that's not a through track.
Oh. I haven't tried to crash the trains in this yet. I really want to. I really want to be able to.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a nice late night.
That sounds good.
Late night snowy run.
My brain just went through this weird process of, I'm really tired. I wish I could have, I should have some coffee. No, you shouldn't have coffee because it's really late.
You shouldn't have
Okay,
coffee
so
late.
I'll just have decaf coffee. Wait. What? I thought the point was that I needed to wake up, so decaf coffee isn't going to accomplish that.
No.
Okay, I'm not going to have coffee. My brain just went through these steps quite slowly.
Wasn't there an anime about space trains back in the 70s? If anybody's done it,
trains.
anime would have done it.
Well, yes. I'm pretty sure there's an anime about everything.
There is. There's an anime about space trains that turn into robots and fight each other, I'm
Yeah.
sure. There is actually an anime about bullet trains.
Yeah.
It's called Shinkarion.
That turn into fighting machines.
It's ludicrous. Night on the Galactic Railroad. We're gonna have to look that up.
I'll do that in just a minute. What train are you doing now?
It's just a little stopping train.
With cats? What's with cats? Wait, there's cats?
You just sold Annalise on watching 18 seasons of this show, whatever it is.
Do you mean Night on the Galactic Railroad has cats? Oh my god, it has cats! Look!
What the hell is that?
It's a show about a train in space that's ridden by cats.
Interesting.
Oh, look at them with their little board meeting.
Cute.
So, we're watching this. What?
Yeah, we will.
You get trains, I get cats. The win-win.
That's actually a very fair point.
I'm concerned about this meme that I have found. There's a meme that's what I watched in the Galactic Railroad, what I expected, the cat returns, what I got, and some anime guy screaming at a hole and saying this is like death.
Interesting.
I'm still probably gonna watch
You like the whisker away as well.
this. You know what? It's terrible. I love it.
There's plenty of that's a speed. That's a thing. That's a mood.
It's so damn bad.
Hang on, why is there sky at the end of that tunnel? Is that a portal to another dimension down there?
Yeah.
Alright, fair enough.
Okay, Steve, important question. Do cats die?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm fine if it's not light and fluffy.
Is it water? If it's Watership Down for cats, I will not allow Annalise to watch it.
I'm fine with,
It's about death. Well,
I feel like I still don't know if actual cats die.
it's kinda dark.
I'm fine with dark, but cats dying.
Night on the Galactic Railroad had bits in Esperanto and deep themes about death.
There was an anime that I watched while I was stuck at home during my 5 months exile that I really enjoyed, and then I was really enjoying it. I was like 12 episodes in. It was a 1-season show, unfortunately. I'm hoping that they make more. But then I got to this one episode where someone is basically experimenting on someone by taking over their mind and making them murder all these cats.
Oh.
And there's this horrible, like, cat murder room. But I managed to just, like, turn off the screen and put it and like...
There's something in Kafka on the Shore about that.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
I love the cat returns. I love the cat returns so much. It's one of my favorite movies. I have a lot of cat returns merchandise. Also, someone's smoking weed outside.
Oh yeah.
It didn't happen.
You know, they're probably not even smoking it outside. It's probably coming from another apartment and then wafting into ours.
I just kind of got used to it. But I'm not really close to
Well, maybe we're just gonna run trains and get a little chippy.
There we go. We're just saving money. Star Trek does have cat people.
They do, and I love that Star Trek Online has fully just blended into it.
I would have a huge problem in that universe though, because I would see them and I would just want to be like, I give you scratches on the head. I'm so stick, stick,
Yeah,
stick,
he's
stick,
racist because
I scratch you under the chin.
it would be like Zootopia, where, like, you know, in Zootopia, they're like, okay, bunnies are not cute. We don't want to be told we're cute. But it's not appropriate. It'd be like that. I think the cat people. I think they come from the animated series. I seem to remember there's cat
they
people
did.
in
They
the animated
were-
series.
But it's sort of in perspective 10 years. I would get in a lot of trouble.
You would. You'd be brought before Star Trek HR.
I
Be
would
like,
be.
you can't do that to the Cathians. To the Felis. Yeah. I love that. There's a mission there, so you can literally abandon this train, walk over there, take that one. I do want to watch out for the station. I don't want to just breathe past it.
The guy who made Cat People a thing in sci-fi was Todd Weiner Smith. Cord Weiner Smith. Like, you want crazy freaking author life, look him up.
He invented the term the singular. Did he?
Interesting.
I always thought that was Nick Bostrom or somebody like that. And he was a small crazy. Okay, sounds interesting. Googling. I didn't realise he invented the term singularity. That's the idea where, you know, people will upload themselves into basically the Borg. People will upload themselves into a consciousness and live online. That's the idea of the singularity.
Yes.
And the idea that humanity is inevitably moving toward that.
The inevitable singularity. One-eyed spy who fought from the Cold War and wrote sci-fi stories. Cool.
Jonathan Franzen has a short essay about somebody that's a little bit like that. That's kind of this preternaturally gifted writer who seems to be able to absorb copious amounts of information and had a really crazy life where he travelled the whole world and ooh, look at that, I actually managed to stop. Yay. That's a nice cozy late night service. Sci-fi stories of cyberpunk quarter. I thought William Gibson was the cyberpunk. What? What the?
What the Christ? Did you guys see that? See the spirits? Oh, okay, this is not helping with our theory that this is actually taking place in some kind of limbo afterlife.
That was extraordinary.
Great. Those are the demons.
Those were the. So occasionally I'll go into the driver's cabin and there will be a human character whose texture has not loaded in, and they're essentially pitch black. They're essentially
It's
a shadow person.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
They are the demons.
I think this game is haunted.
Yep. Maybe it's like a double service. It's for humans and demons.
I think one of these days you're not going to be able to find me. You'll turn on the PS4 and I'll be in there going, help! I will have been sucked into the world of Train Simulator World.
Oh god. Yeah, don't be on a train. If that happens, don't be on a train because I'll try and save you by driving the train and inevitably crash it. I'm not good at this game.
That's just Glasgow. People just rocket 45 feet up into the air.
Glasgow's like that. Oh god, yeah, it just happened. It's happened in Glasgow.
I think they had those portal jumping spring feet things.
Yeah. I like the idea that it's kind of one of those
Oh, I don't have the lights on.
Ghibli-esque things where it's humans and demons taking the same transportation, but the humans can't see the demons.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah.
Glasgow is a little crazy, although Reading is a bit crazy tonight. People were going a little nuts here.
Yeah. I think Reading has a little undertone of crazy most of the time. It's not as crazy as certain places in the UK. I don't think it's as crazy as Reading.
Liverpool has its moments, I will say.
It's certainly crazy.
New York is just a continual party. Okay.
Sorry, we're just talking about things right now.
I'm fairly certain Mr. HEC is a Scouser who lives in Liverpool. Yeah, that's quite possible. There's quite a few Liverpool-based people. I think Frank T. Allen. He's not from Liverpool, but he lives in Liverpool. So I think Richard's gone and stayed with him when he's filmed events at the corporate, conference centre they've got there. I think I might call it in a few minutes.
Yes.
Might do a couple more. Might do a little bit more of this and then.
I am shockingly tired of I'm not usually this tired of
Frank lives in Liverpool, and I keep wanting him to do a Cilla Black impersonation, and I feel kind of awful about it. That is actually a really common South Liverpool accent, actually. The kind of, oh, that's lovely, that's great. That's kind of the posh Liverpool accent.
I'm so glad you got
Yeah.
Although it didn't help the fact that I really did think that all Brits sounded like that. Because everyone in the States already thinks that, because of the media that you guys export. Everyone thinks that all Brits sound like you. And then I met you, I'm like, oh, okay, Brits
This is
do sound like that.
this is an assumption that has served me quite well over the years.
I'm sure it has. I mean, hey, I like to think it's still serving you well.
It is. So Shatner's on Ancient Aliens, apparently, on the Blaze chat. What? Oh, Shatner, why?
Oh no.
Oh, is this the early onset of Shatner's dementia?
Early? I feel like we're in at least mid-stages here.
Yeah, that was a fuck back.
No. My dad loves putting on Ancient Aliens to troll me.
It's fascinating. Because it takes real imagination to come up with ideas that are that insane.
Sorry, beat you to it, Stephen.
I still remember one of my favorite insane documentaries. If you want, you can find some truly baked out shit on YouTube on Netflix as well.
Oh,
there are some documentaries there that are clearly like what's most fascinating about them is not just that they have insane theories. It's that you're finding yourself wondering who made this, who produced this, whose thing. This was clearly somebody's pet project.
Yep.
And they don't really know what a documentary is, so they don't have the editorial voice. What they have, they don't have the factual voice. They have too much. They kind of shift back and forth between, I am the narrator narrating what is supposed to be fact, but then it slips into editorializing.
Yep.
And it's just hilarious. It's a bit like the same reason that people watch bad movies.
Yeah.
Bad documentaries that don't understand what a documentary is.
Well, that's why my dad puts on Ancient Aliens for a similar reason, because it's just so damn bad and so damn laughable, and he finds it funny.
Yeah.
But he also knows that I find it annoying because I know there are people that believe it all. And as a scientist, I can't. It's too depressing.
The Flat Earth theory is growing on YouTube in the Nutter community. Yeah, it is. One of my favourite screenshots I've ever seen was a guy making a post in a Flat Earth group.
Yep.
That said, "We're really delighted that the Flat Earth community is gaining followers around the world."
No, around the globe.
Around the globe. And somebody commented and said, "Say that again, slowly."
Oh, Steve, no, it's okay. I fell for that one too.
Make people believe crazy ideas. I once believed that the president had to be the smartest man on the planet. Oh, no.
Yeah. Talk about a conspiracy theory.
The movie that purports to be fact that I hate, Anonymous, about the authorship question. Oh, I don't know that one. That's interesting. Yeah, there was this amazing, terrible documentary. I mean, it was a
Mockumentary.
stupid thing made by a moron, but it was a show about ancient aliens and the pyramids. But it was narrated by this woman that I swear to God, it was like she had this really weird kind of old school teacher voice, and she was like, "Why are people not being allowed to see what actually is happening in the pyramids? Why are these things being hidden from the public?"
Because the public is stupid and will destroy them.
And also, your entire reason for, you're just making you're making this out that stuff's being hidden from you when it isn't. You're pretending that there's a conspiracy when there isn't. My favourite one is when she says, "A few years ago, a piece of stone fell away from a lintel and showed a series of hieroglyphs which depicted various advanced technologies such as a helicopter." And the idea that the ancient Egyptians had a helicopter. A helicopter? But it was a little hieroglyph that looked a bit like an Apache. Like, that's what they kind of thought it was. It's like, oh no, you guys.
My favorite was the History Channel, it was Animal Planet did the Sasquatch show, which was meant to be a documentary series about hunting for Sasquatch. It was played straight. And it wasn't even played straight. It was meant to be a documentary about, is Sasquatch real, and let's go look for him. And there are these morons that go out into the woods and they see a pair of glowing eyes and they're like, "Oh my god, it's 6 feet off the ground. It must be a squatch." And my dad and I just look at each other, or an owl on a damn branch. Oh, it was painful.
Oh, no.
Alright, I'm gonna read these comments and then shall we call it?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's see, where did they go? There we are. John Smith. Basically, Shakespeare couldn't be the author of the plays and sonnets because he wasn't a nobleman. Okay. I've lost a few friends to conspiracy theories on YouTube, unfortunately.
Oh no.
I remember when it was funny and you could just enjoy X-Files and go, yeah, that's gotta be something. Now it's just insane. And then he replies to John, even though his father was a well-paid business owner who could put his kids through an education and that people were literate enough to read the Bible. Yeah. Oh, God. Alright, well, on the conspiracy theory note.
We will continue this fascinating discussion later.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning in.
We're gonna go pass out, probably.
Yeah. We're gonna maybe put on a film or something, but...
Yay, movie. Alright, have a good night,
Thanks for the fun chat, guys. Until soon.
Yes, until soon. Night.
Bye-bye.